and gentlemen.
Welcome to the show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Movie Wire.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We've got a big show this week with 3 new movies to review, with all 3 playing in theaters right now. This week on the show, Small Time Boy, Big City Problems. Austin Butler stars in Caught Stealing. Prepare for the end, the case that ended it all, in the final chapter of the Conjuring, Last Rites. And finally, it was supposed to be fun in the Threesome. We got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, what? A roar and a burst of flame. The Movie Wire podcast. We need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
Bang, bang, bang. My neighbors, I sing my neighbors. Rock and roll time, baby, come on.
A young man's ongoing crush leads him into an unexpected threesome. He thinks it's his ultimate fantasy come true. Word. When the fantasy ends, all 3 are left with sobering real-world consequences to take responsibility for their actions in the threesome.
Way to the top, now my neighbors knocking on the wall.
Hi,
I want to take you on a real date. Tomorrow night.
I'm working.
The next night then. Final offer.
You can buy my breakfast. That's kind of like a date.
I want you to accept what you have with Olivia. You guys are friends, friends-ish, friends adjacent. Look over there at that table. She just got stood up. Go over there and talk to her. Show Olivia. Another girl sees how much of a catch you are.
Is this man bothering you?
No, not at all.
Because he's wanted in multiple states for indecent exposure.
She's kidding.
Oh,
I am. I can tell she's into it.
All 3 of us?
You guys gonna ask me to watch you do it?
I thought you were on the pill.
It's hard to remember, you have to take one every single day.
Benny?
I need to talk to you, Connor.
2 girls pregnant. So after thousands of years of perfection, the pull-out method has finally failed. We can get through this,
No.
right?
I'm not doing this if there's a side piece baby mama. Absolutely not.
I'm here because I want to try and do the right thing, whatever that may be.
Why do you have to have the world's most potent freaking sperm?
This is so exciting.
She's beautiful. Is she still up for threesome?
That's the mother of my child, you disgusting animal. Hi! Hi!
Do you always bring an extra person?
You and Jenny aren't together, right? There's nothing happening at all.
I told my parents that you were my boyfriend.
Surprise!
We did not see this coming.
We didn't see that baby coming either.
I think about us getting back together all the time. I know that I'm the one making it harder. Coffee with a splash of whiskey. Oh, wow. Didn't even check to see if I was joking. Just sort of dove right in.
I know what we have with Jenny is complicated,
This is so hard. Can't we just help each other?
but everything I've done has been with you and that baby and the rest of our lives in mind.
You decided to bring her to my doctor?
It was this or yell.
So, yell.
Sorry, did you forget something?
Other than a condom?
This is too good.
Now, walking into the threesome, this is one of those movies. I never watched the trailer. I didn't even read the synopsis. I merely just put on my hoodie, put the hood over my head, walked into the theater with my eyes on the floor, not making eye contact, and had the ticket taker scan my ticket. I couldn't find my trench coat. Going into a movie called The Threesome and seeing the movie poster, I didn't know what I was in for. But based on the title, I did have an expectation of what Hollywood really did treat the movie about a threesome could be. A threesome that goes horribly wrong, somebody being a stalker or ending up dead, in more of a thriller type setting. That's how Hollywood has treated movies with multiple people involved in a sexual situation. But to my surprise, A Threesome actually does cover a lot of heavy topics, and the biggest surprise, some actual heart, some humanity. From relationship conflicts, abortion, parenthood, understanding, and responsibility. Yes, with all these topics present, there will be some shaking their head at the abortion topic, the decisions made by our characters, the realism of our main character Connor, played by Jonah King, to even having our main premise of a threesome. There will be a lot of opinions on this. Opinions will be vast on these topics from audiences and critics. And this will divide audiences and critics based on their relatability. Not to say that everybody has had a threesome, but rather the character relationships and decisions made by our characters will spark some emotional reaction. Now, my viewing was in a theater with about 5 other people, 2 women that sat together, a couple that sat together, and another single viewer. There was a moment in the back half of the movie where the 2 women that sat in front of me did what my biggest pet peeve is, which is whispering so loudly that they might have just talked at a normal volume, saying that a man would have left town. This isn't realistic. This is where audiences will be divided. And I'm not saying these 2 women are going to find an entire vast piece of audience, but this is a good example of where people will be split and not giving this movie a chance. And to give some context on the plot, Connor is in love with Olivia, played by Zoe Deutsch. It's Connor's one love, the one that he seeks over, but Olivia just leads him on, not wanting to commit. This is because Olivia is a free spirit, but who is also sleeping with a married man. One day at a restaurant that Olivia works at, Connor sits down to have dinner with a girl that got ditched on a date. This woman is Jenny, played by Ruby Cruz. Olivia, who shows a little bit of jealousy to this, and interrupts Jenny and Connor's dinner to talk to the 2 of them. They all end up in a night of partying and truth or dare that ends up in a threesome between them. That also end up with both women being pregnant. You may ask, how does this Man of Steel have enough to get both women pregnant during a threesome? Well, Connor also sleeps with Jenny the very next morning when Olivia abandons the 2 of them with her issues with commitment with Connor. Now, like I said before, the threesome does cover some heavy topics that will trigger a lot of people. This is a risk movie, and I applaud the studios for taking this kind of material on, because viewers will put their opinions over what the movie's messaging and true intent is. It's gonna be hard because individual opinions will overpower what a movie's intent is. But give this movie a chance. Some might not like what they see, but given the heavy topics, I hope audiences will see through this to see the true heart of it. People might not agree with the abortion topic being brought up. Some may not agree with the threesome. Some may not agree with scenes of discussing abortion. And some might not even agree with a male that tries to take responsibility because that's the stereotype that society has built. Or we include our own individual experiences to that. And that's okay. We're going to have, with all these topics, a lot of disagreements. Here, our writer Ethan Ogilvy holds nothing back in attacking these topics that are a risk to a theatrical release, and does it with great success and a realistic heart. If we leave opinions at the door. The Threesome reminded me of 1995's 9 Months with Hugh Grant and Julianne Moore, just toned down on the silliness comedy. In 9 Months, it went all in on the comedy on these heavy topics, but The Threesome doesn't feel the need to do that. It takes taboo topics given the times and brings them up front and center. And this is what this era needs now, is not to hide from taboo topics, but to present them through the arts, including cinema. Theatrical releases now tends to steer toward the safe zone to protect reputation of studios. So to give credit where credit is due, Filmopoly, Jupiter Peak Productions, and Star Thrower Entertainment, thank you. Thank you for taking that risk. The Threesome is directed by Chad Hartigan, who has had experience with the coming-of-age and relationship films, including 2020's Little Fish, 2016's More is from America, and 2013's This is Martin Bonner. He has a way with his films to really capture raw feelings from our characters, with the exception of Morris from America, that actually, in fairness, did actually do a pretty good job of a coming-of-age story. And with the threesome, there is no difference here. The material given from Ethan Ogilvy, we can tell doesn't go far enough on risk, but Hartigan has a way to make it feel deeper than what it is and still feel honest and real. For example, we have a scene where we have Olivia in a doctor's office discussing the different ways to abort the baby. The filmmakers make us feel an opinion about this character and what we know about the character, that we know what Olivia is going to do. But then we would have a pretty thin story, of course, and then the human element is added, and the way she handles it and approaches it feels human. It feels real. There is true heart here. We get this dialogue from Ogilvy that is quite brilliant, that addresses it from both sides of opinions, when especially this is a dangerous topic for films, but it counters every heavy topic it has with true heart and being human. And that's my best description of this film, is just being human, to know that just like in real life, there will be those that judge. And in a situation, it is easy to go along with the societal norm, but at the end of the day, every life, or in this case, lives, are different, and society can't make decisions on our honorable actions or basic decisions. And this is one of the elements why we have art, to express these different point of views, to really have the emotional element be present, to see different sides that words can't express, but situations and scenes and moments in cinema can really present this. Our character Connor is, get this, a nice guy that wants to do the right thing between both women. And that's something that's stereotyped in films like this, that we don't have that nice guy. And by doing so, Connor faces a conflict from each girl. But this is where the magic happens. In contrary to Hollywood, this isn't an added conflict, but a driver to character growth with Connor, Olivia, and Jenny, all the characters. There is no antagonist, there is no added conflict the film pivots around, but mere situations that our characters address conflicts. Everything with our characters stays the same. Connor, Olivia, and Jenny are having a baby. And there are no bad people here, because all three made the decision together. And writer Ogilvy and director Hartigan get this messaging and don't steer off course of the messaging they want to tell, even all the way up to co-parenting with conflicts present. What our director Hartigan manages is to balance heart with conflict given the material, to even point out the too loud whispers in my theater of the middle-aged ladies that weren't bought into our Connor character being a nice guy, walked past me at the end of this movie, stating that movie was really good. The threesome manages to convince an audience to look past opinion and get sucked into just the recognizing different situations and families, and know that decisions and lifestyles don't define a person or persons, because as we see from our Connor character, he is a catalyst to the given conflict to still want to do right, wants to be there for his babies. It's also a movie that stands up and says, you will have opinions, but by the end of the movie, you will be more empathetic and understanding. And I'm using two audience members as an example, but these are the two that I noticed. This will be an effect across the board. I can almost guarantee those that aren't hard-headed will get sucked into this story. But when it comes to the threesome, the movie isn't without flaws. Where the movie misses is the fact that it skims over stressful moments of our two female characters of Olivia and Jenny. When it comes to their journey, the movie really does focus on our Connor character and his internal conflict to do right versus be happy with the one individual he loves. And with a focus around the situational moments, the emotional stakes seem to be tame compared to what we could actually see if we actually involved a little bit more in depth with our Olivia and Jenny character during their pregnancy. There are conflicts across the board here, and I think we have a heavy focus on our Connor character to nail in the point that males aren't always the bad guys. But there is a story, a more empathetic story around our two pregnant females, that we do get a satisfying ending towards the end of a relationship build, but we should have saw that during the halfway point to really build some stakes with our characters. Pregnancy with one child is an emotional journey with both parents. Here we have two women pregnant with one man, and a man knowing he's about to have two kids with two separate parents. The movie glosses over this, which could have been an elevated emotional hike that led to more an emotional payoff if we actually got more depth to our Olivia and Jenny character. But at the end of the day, the payoff is a satisfying one, but it's because of the human nature of seeing a newborn during conflict. The birth of a new life in cinema is always a punch to the emotional gut, if done well. And here, it does do it well, but there is a lingering feeling that it could have been more. The threesome was a big surprise to me. That the actual threesome scene, the actual act, was pretty tame. Anyway, I had to see it twice to really take this movie in. My first viewing had it about 3.5 stars, because it caught me up in the element of bravery in filmmaking and topics that took full advantage of our natural feelings. But the second time, I saw the flaws, that it could have been much, much more given the situational elements that could have grew the stakes. My advice to the threesome: don't focus on your internal opinion, leave those at the door, but rather put yourself in a mode of what would you do after a threesome that led to 2 babies. Whether you had a threesome or not, this isn't a movie about a threesome, but the human element, the human care for life. There isn't a right or wrong, and that's what this movie is about the stakes of 5 lives at stake, 2 unborn and 3 that are navigating the stakes of 2 unborn children. The threesome has an elementary heart, and it's hard not to absorb every minute of it, including our characters. But the more we watch these characters, the more we realize it could have been something more if the characters playing the field was evened out with a less focus on our main character, Connor. But regardless, at the end of the day, the threesome has heart, has emotional stakes. We want to follow these characters. The elements all here work, but it just is a shy away from perfection. This is a complete surprise that will go under the radar. I suggest go see this movie. Don't let the title like The Threesome steer a couple away. And I'll just state it for the record again, the threesome actual act and scene was lame. Anyway, I'm giving The Threesome 3 stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now. Last night at 2:17 a.m., every child from Mrs. Gandy's class woke up, got out of bed, went downstairs, opened the front door, walked into the dark, and never came back in one of the best horror movies of the year, in Weapons, that received 3.5 stars. The truth is messy business, and Ethan Cohen's Honey Don't. That had a great premise and an idea of tone, but made me say by the end, Ethan Cohen, please baby don't. Receiving 2.5 stars. Justice makes him wet in the remake of the Leslie Nielsen classic, The Naked Gun, which rapid fires gags with only 50% success, receiving 2.5 stars. Hutch is back and nobody ruins his vacation in Nobody 2, which is an unnecessary sequel, but still a lot of fun, seeing 2 unexpected action stars like Christopher Lloyd fire a machine gun and Bob Odenkirk kick some ass, receiving 3 stars. Karma is a killer, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, overacted, recycled, and brings nothing new to the table except 1.5 stars. Love is hard and breakups are harder, especially when an unnatural force has a plan to keep them together, which will make your date stop holding your hand in the movie, but worth it, receiving 3 stars. Brad Pitt goes vroom vroom in F1 the movie. That was an adrenaline ride, especially given the runtime, and it's a feast for the senses, receiving 3.5 stars. Double the bad and double the fun. I don't know about that one. In The Bad Guys 2, which was just too much, receiving 2.5 stars. The Universe Called. The Wrong Number, in Disney Pixar's Elio, which was a much better animated movie than The Bad Guys 2, receiving 3.5 stars. And another animated movie still not as good as Elio, Smurf It Up and Get the Search Party Started in Smurfs, which Smurf and sucked, receiving 2 stars. Every choice, every vision has led to this in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which was a clever way to close out the series, but will end with the same feelings as the rest of just blending together, but still a fun ride in the moment, receiving 3 stars. Hindsight is 20/20 in Eddington, that attacks a proper balance of political divide with a focus for the characters and allows our own reflection to a dark time to fill in relatable thrills, receiving 3 stars. A new era is born in Jurassic World Rebirth, in which we needed a redo, not a rebirth, that birthed out 2 stars. time didn't heal anything, and 28 years later, that took the series into emotional horror, receiving 3.5 stars. Every life is a universe of its own, and the first 4-star review of the year, the best movie of the year in The Life of Chuck, which received 4 stars. Hold on to your coconuts in the Disney remake that's familiar but extends the heart in Lilo and Stitch that received 3 stars. And finally, some people just want more in this romantic movie that tackles today's social status versus what love actually is in The Materialist that received 3 stars. Make sure you check out those reviews on previous episodes, and while you do, don't forget to hit follow or subscribe, and please don't forget to leave your review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out one of the podcasts that are part of my weekly listening routine. They add some sugar, they add some spice, talking about baking and murders in the Sugar-Coated Murder Podcast. The link to that show will be in the description of this episode. But let's hear from Karen and Ann over the Sugar-Coated Murders Podcast now.
Hey y'all, this is Karen Devaney from the Sugar-Coated Murder Podcast. Join me and my sister Ann Garner for a new true crime experience. If you are obsessed with cooking shows and have a curious passion for murder cases, then find us on any of your favorite listening apps. Stay sweet.
Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren take on their last terrifying case involving mysterious entities they must confront in the final chapter, The Conjuring: Last Rites.
The devil has come to Pennsylvania.
Jack and Janet Smurl claim that an evil presence has found its way into their home.
8 people live in this house. 8 people have experienced this. 8 people are not crazy.
So, when did this start?
Heather's confirmation.
7th of September.
There's something in the attic.
Ed, there's an evil here. Something I've felt before. This thing in your house is a demon. It's the first one that we ever encountered. We were young. We were scared. We ran away. And after all these years, it wasn't done with our family.
Saint Michael, defend us. Be our safeguard against the devil.
In nomine Patris, et Filii et Spiritus Sanctus. By the power of our Lord Jesus Christ.
I don't know how to protect you this time.
Now, this is truly the Avengers Endgame of the Conjuring series, and given the story behind the Warrens, this is the endgame to their long-lived career. That is on full display here, that brings the scares, but surprisingly, brings more stakes than its predecessors. And even more of a surprise, brings in a lot of family dynamic and heart. The Conjuring: Last Rites brings back our based on real-life paranormal careers of Lorraine and Ed Warren, played once again by Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson, in their final case, and what we're told will be the final installment that started all the way back in 2013 that sprouted 3 sequels and 5 spin-off films. Now, where the missing element here compared to The Nun and Annabelle is that we don't get a paranormal villain that feels like it's worthy of a spin-off film. It's not an interesting antagonist, and, I'm okay with that, because having a concept or interpretation of a villain in the Warrens' final case would ruin the effectiveness of a proper climax on a well-lived legacy of these two in an effective film franchise. I love the fact that we have the idea of the antagonist of an unseen demonic possession, and we're focused more on this cast. We're focused more on this bloated cast, because there are a lot of characters that I'll get into in just a second. Now, all of the previous movies added something to the table. Well, with the exception of the last installment, The Devil Made Me Do It. That felt like a sequel in terms of, the sequel to the original X-Files movie, I Want to Believe, where it does the opposite, where I didn't want to believe either films were sequels. It took away the charm, it took away the mystery, it took away from the characters, and all we're left with is the hope of crossing our fingers that we enjoy seeing our characters on screen, because that's actually what held these two movies together. We love seeing our characters, a Fox and Mulder in the X-Files sequel on screen, and we love our Warrens in the previous sequel. And with having characters likable, that's what convinced us that it was an okay movie. Not a fantastic movie, not a horrible movie. It's the characters on-screen likability that drew us to go along on these journeys. This go-around Last Rites treats this finale as a true showstopper, bringing in new elements as a big emotional stake. And that emotional stake is their daughter Judy, played by Mia Tomlinson, who is the backbone of the conflict here, where we kick off the movie with the Warrens on a case while Lorraine is pregnant with Judy, where they are investigating a strange mirror that turns out to home a demonic presence. At the exact moment that Lorraine interacts with this mirror, she has gone into labor, and I will leave the rest for you to discover. But after this incident, the Warrens decide to retire, especially after heart problems from Ed Warren. The Warrens leave the case and leave this mirror behind, but not forgotten by the Warrens until it returns in a small Pennsylvania home, owned by the Smurl family. And Judy Warren at this time is all grown up with traits that she inherited by Lorraine. And being all grown up, Judy now has a boyfriend, and that's Tony, played by Ben Hardy, who all get wrapped up in this paranormal mystery from their past. Now, at the end of the day, when we have a close to characters we have followed since 2013, we're specifically looking for not just a good movie, but a good send-off. And we can tell our returning director, Michael Chavez, from The Nun 2 and The Devil Made Me Do It, has that intent at top of mind, given the material that our Nun 2 writers Ian Goldberg, Richard Nang, and The Devil Made Me Do It writer David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick bring to the table. We have an equal amount of heart, emotional stakes, just as much as we get scares. And the movie does have a good amount of gotcha moments to make you squirm in your seat. But it still does have its cliche moments, the moments you can see coming, the jump scares you can see coming. But this entry is mostly successful at giving the viewer what they came for and a little bit more. And what I did love about it is taking place in 1986, taking place in the 80s, it gives us a nod to Ghostbusters. Now, taking place in 1986, Ghostbuster Mania was at its prime. So this was a smart move to address not just the characters, but the world around them. We have an added moment where we see the Warrens visit their Snurl home, and the home is swarmed by press, public, and police with cop cars and street barricades. It's an intimate nod to what we saw in Ghostbusters 1 and 2, as the Warrens push past the crowd to get inside the Snurl house, and the crowd recognizes who they are. It really did give me that feeling of the first two Ghostbusters leading into the final battle, where I wanted to cheer. It felt like an intimate hero moment, that one moment where we want to root for our heroes to almost catapult us back into a grander finale. But as we get into the climax, as we get into the moment of the investigation, we realize we do have a lot of characters to balance here. And our writers, we can tell, had a challenge on what characters to focus on, and our director as well, to ensure the story feels like a family in danger. We have 8 members of the Snurl family. We have 3 Warrens and a boyfriend. And our filmmakers have to balance a family of 8, a haunting, and give us a proper send-off with our Warrens. Our trio of writers decided to have a heavier focus on our actual Warrens versus showing more examples of haunting incidents with the Snurls, or getting to know the Snurls at a more intimate level. And what our director does, what Chavez attempts to do, is make the hauntings more threatening and more intense. He takes advantage of each individual moment to higher the stakes. And honestly, those scenes are effective, But getting to know our Snurl family also makes these hauntings feel scary and more emotional if we are tied to those characters. And I think this was kind of a misstep in strategy, and what was missing in comparison to the previous films. We don't really get to know our Snurl family except for when they're in danger. This go around, we do feel we lose the simplicity of a focus around a family haunting and the Warren family that we got from its predecessors. Instead, we get more of a big finale of all Warrens assemble for the final battle, along with more detail around our main demon antagonist, the haunted mirror, the demon-possessed mirror, the possessed mirror, where we feel there should have been more depth surrounding this idea, more background, more investigative material. We feel to heighten the stakes of the antagonist, we needed more. But instead of a focus on the mirror, we also have two other spirits the film focuses on that I wasn't really bought into, especially by the look of them, which come across as actors in rubber masks, to the point when I actually looked at it, I felt it less threatening because it felt like a recycled modified mask from Ethan Hawke's film Black Phone. The biggest thing that stands out is the bigger feel to this Conjuring that feels more for box office appeal than simplistic scares. But, by the end of the day, I was okay with it. The movie does the job it needs to do, and there is enough here to leave us satisfied with the ending result and the final goodbye to the Warrens, along with some other characters that we have seen from past films. The Conjuring Last Rites delivers on the scares and adds in emotional elements to make us feel a little sad that this is the final go-around. But The Last Rites focuses more on giving the audience what we want in a Conjuring movie and a proper send-off that feels more like a bittersweet goodbye. Though it faces a lot of characters to juggle and we lose a more simplistic haunting story, the movie still feels like a big movie with a big climax that will satisfy most Conjuring fans, and even those going into a Conjuring movie for the first time will still enjoy it. I'm giving The Conjuring Last Rites a solid, entertaining 3 stars. Burned-out ex-baseball player Hank Thompson unexpectedly finds himself embroiled in a dangerous struggle for survival amidst the criminal underbelly of 1990s New York City, forced to navigate a treacherous underworld he never imagined. Austin Butler stars in Caught Stealing.
What the hell happened?
Some last call. Drink them if you got them.
Let's go back to your place so you can take advantage of my poor judgment.
I depend on your poor judgment.
I want to know if I can take this seriously.
What do you need to take us seriously?
Come on, kids, get a room.
Sorry, Miss Kitty.
Oi! What the fuck you doing, geezer? Is that the best you can do? I've got to fly back to London. I need you to take care of my cat.
I like cats.
I like dogs.
Hey, is Russ home?
Who are you? What's the baby, man?
Who did this to you?
La pistola. Either I get what I want or my pistol talk for me.
These guys you messed up with, they're scary monsters.
I don't know anything.
Sweep me in the fucking head, you swat! What the fuck did you get me into?
Darling, you got to let me know.
Welcome to Narnia.
Should I stay or should I
How
go?
much is there? Over 4 million.
Shit. Everyone gets a cut. The Russians, the Puerto Ricans, the Hebrews. What the fuck are you doing? Oh.
So what happens to me?
You're fucked.
You run away from what you're afraid of, then it owns you.
Buckle your seatbelt.
Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now?
What the fuck is going on?
Hasta aquí llegaste, cabrón.
Either we go deeper or pick it up.
I don't want out.
Should I stay or should I go now?
I need to know that you're a guy that can take care of his shit.
I can handle it.
I don't suppose you're Jewish, are you?
Eat, skinny boy.
Either you're gonna upset her.
I like you, Hank.
Once in a while we have movies that just do things, characters that do things. where it feels on paper could have been something more. It was intended to be something more, along with giving us a different feeling of what we got. Caught Stealing delivers questions instead of feelings. Ones like, why should I be watching this movie? What is the hook? What is the point? What is the angle the filmmakers are going for? Caught Stealing feels like it's always going for an uneven tone, where it feels it's always at a constant tug-of-war of how it wants to be interpreted on screen. Direction versus dialogue, where the two always feel like it's trying to dominate over each other instead of coexisting. We might have just had a 2-hour boxing match between our whale director Darren Aronofsky and our writer Charlie Hudson, where this becomes completely noticeable and prominent on where the film is trying to balance the humor versus the violence. Our main character, Hank, played by Academy Award nominee Austin Butler, has a scene of getting beat up, running from a different group of antagonists, where we drop in some comedy and we repeat the cycle. Then we throw in a cat that gives us an artificial feeling of fun that adds to a softness to Butler's character to show a human side of him. It's like seeing a male model calendar with our models holding adorable animals to show a sweetness over the masculinity. Caught Stealing is a cinematic version of a male model calendar for 2025. Now, this film is set in a gritty world of the late 1990s Manhattan, as we take our main character Hank, again played by Butler, a former minor league baseball player whose career was cut short by a car crash. He spends the time now bartending and drinking heavily. His life spirals out of control after his friend Russ, played by Matt Smith, asks him to watch his cat. Along with a key of mystery, at least a mystery for the first 59 minutes of the film. Now, Hank is entangled by Russian gangsters, Jewish mobsters, crooked cops, in a rotating circle of repetitive situational violence. But here's where our director Aronofsky does shine, even though with an unbalanced tone. Is the look and feel of the movie of this 90s New York is engulfing. It looks great, but it also has flaws, to the point I wish Aronofsky wouldn't utilize so many damn up-close shots, but rather, when needed, to pan out, show us what the environment is, and utilize the environment. Aronofsky is a fan of attempting to capture up-close shots, intimate shots of our characters based on his film's past, and utilizing it here does show that kind of weakness in his direction, that it doesn't always work. Even when he does make the decision for a wide-angle shot or a panned-out shot, the transitions are so quick, we can't even tell if it's a good shot because it goes so quick, we can't take it in. And this, to an extent, I can appreciate what he is trying to do, what he's trying to match in his direction style, and attempt to keep the feeling of a good pace and a quick, chaotic, dark comedy going, but this is where it adds to that overhanging feeling of an unbalanced tone. Caught Stealing, more often than not, is a feast for the eyes for those that want an intimate, gritty look, and we see that with the environment and the characters. And this is where the big but comes again. The tone doesn't match the characters. We have all these characters, all these groups of characters with a gritty tone that it reminded me of 1999's Payback starring Mel Gibson, that did a much better job in its direction by Brian Hedgeland to integrate the fun factor, because the tone was unique in its grittiness and it was unique in its comedy. Here it doesn't utilize the material at hand. Instead, it uses its settings and tone to its advantage to be a dark comedy. But we just don't know where the comedy is. Just because we have situation after situation of antagonist chaos in search of a singular item, the film never does reach its full potential of fun. But at times, it is entertaining, but it will land in the forgettable territory using this strategy. Now, one of the things I will give credit to in this film is the performances. It's almost worth to say that the performances help hold the interest here, even though the character direction on what the material suggests isn't present. The cast does its best with what they have, especially with Regina King as Detective Roman and Matt Smith as the Mohawk sporting Russ. These two stand out given the material. These two know kind of the assignment of what their characters are trying to be. Everybody else is trying to figure it out. We have Regina King with some sharp and engulfing dialogue that actually works. And with Smith, with a character that's supposed to be almost a comic relief as the one that started the whole conflict and the chaos, with the one hiding the sought-out key in a hidden poop prop that he put in a litter box. Let me say that again. With hiding the sought-out key in a hidden poop prop that he put in a litter box, which lost the movie's credibility on logic. This key could have been hidden anywhere, but the hiding spot we get just presents questions. Good fucking God. For example, did Russ just carry around a plastic prop of poop? Second question, did he have a premeditated plan of hiding it in a litter box? And finally, the biggest flaw and the biggest question of them all, why would one hide a key in a piece of a plastic poop and put it in a kitty litter box, thinking and trusting this wouldn't be thrown away with the rest of the cat poop? Then I began to question the hygiene of our main character, Hank. Did Russ know Hank well enough to know that Hank wouldn't be clean enough to clean out a fucking litter box on a regular basis? Then I started to look around the apartment and say, that apartment must fucking smell like actual shit. This is where we question the credibility of Hank. This is where we question the credibility of the apartment and the atmosphere that I praised in the beginning of this review. But it doesn't fucking matter. Anyway, going back to the original point. We have good performances here, including Butler, that does a decent enough job, but the movie just can't decide on what it is or what it wants to be. We can see it's meant as almost a chaotic dark comedy, but it just ends up in between a thriller and a dark comedy where we don't even know what's funny or what's supposed to be taken seriously. That doesn't promote the fun through its characters. Caught Stealing is a great movie to look at the setting and listen to the dialogue, but it has trouble committing to what kind of movie it wants to be and has trouble making the dark comedy portion work. It has moments, but the moments doesn't push it into memorable territory. So for that, I'm giving Caught Stealing 2 stars. And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cultworthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.